Hello and thanks for joining me. I'm in the process of building a garden room, so I thought I would share it on YouTube with all the people that are doing this kind of project at the moment. I've got an area of the garden which I'm not really using at the minute. Um, Old greenhouse which I decided to remove, and a shed which I realised I would have to re-site. It left me with a space for a 4 meters by 3 meters garden room, and I went about starting the whole process. First of all, I had to clear the ground and get on with some concreting work and a little bit of brickwork. So that's what this video is primarily all about. Oh, good morning. I'm just in the process now of removing this thin concrete base, which used to be the base of my greenhouse. You can see over there there's a bit of armoured cable sticking out of the ground. I never did quite get that connected up. Anyway, hopefully I'll be able to use that in the garden room when I finally build it. So I'm removing this base because it's very thin. That layer of concrete is a bit too thin for my garden room floor. So rather than leave it and incorporate it, I'm just taking it away. Underneath it you can see there's a 1200 gauge visqueen damp-proof membrane which kept the concrete dry. I've looked at lots of other concrete shed base installations on YouTube, and I've noticed that very few of them seem to put a visqueen base in, which I can't understand, because you'll end up with damp coming through from the sub base up through into the concrete. So when I come to do my concrete floor, I'll incorporate visqueen in it. Anyway, I'm getting somewhere now. I've got the area reasonably cleared. That's a little wall there that's going to be the further edge of the garden room. And then I've already removed the base from the shed that used to stand there. So we're in the process almost now of finally getting the area cleared and beginning the build. So this is the concrete foundations that I'm setting out now for the summer house. You can see that along the back there I've already got the foundations in, and I'm just digging the trenches now around the side here and up the front and along that far edge there. Been quite a heavy day really. I can see why now people just tend to use various pile foundations, digging small holes, small diameter holes, and going down deep and using metal rods and elevating the building clear of the ground. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a foundation in and then put a couple of courses of brickwork up, which will bring me up to this sort of ground level here, and then that will be the datum point for my concrete floor. Unfortunately, there's quite a bit of digging involved. I've had to use an angle grinder with a masonry cutter on it to get through some of the old foundations from the previous buildings, which are a bit too high. Anyway, I've got it, and I've used some of the old bits of foundation to go into the very bottom of the trench. I've dug them in a bit, so that'll save me on concrete and give me a little bit of a stronger foundation, hopefully. So that's foundations making progress. So having eventually got the foundations in place, I then got on with the little bit of brickwork. It's only 2 courses, and you can see me here laying mortar on the first course that I've already put down. I'm following a string line and trying to make sure that everything is kept as level and as straight as I possibly can. Making sure that the building was square at this stage was really important. So here I'm measuring the diagonals from one diagonal across to the other to make sure that the building is square. Having made sure that the dimensions from corner to corner were the same, I carried on laying my bricks, following a string line, and then using a spirit level to make sure that everything was as horizontal as I could get it and in line as best I could. So just to go over how I set all this out, what I wanted to do is make sure that the floor level was just above the outside ground level here where the grass is. So what I've done is I've from the grass established what I want for my floor level, okay, and using my spirit level I then use this gauging stick here which represents 2 bricks with the mortar layers between. There's the 2 bricks mortar layer between. You can see we're just about okay with that. What I did then is I attached my spirit level to the gauging stick here, clamped it on, and then from this point here I was able to establish where the base of my concrete needed to be, and I pushed these pegs into the ground level with where the concrete top needs to be. Did that all the way around, poured the foundations all nice and level, and then the brickwork's gone on. So fortunately it's all worked out. My floor level here is just about equal to the top of the brickwork there. This whole area then will get filled with hardcore, a layer of sand, and then my visqueen, and then concrete. So that's the next step. So I'm at the stage now of laying the concrete floor to the summer house. As you can see, I've got my visqueen in place. The concrete slab that I've already laid is about 8 centimetres or 80 millimetres deep in places. And I got so far with it yesterday, and like a lot of DIYers, I didn't really estimate the quantities that I needed. So I ran out of concrete material and had to sort of batten it off part way through the floor. I've been able to get some more material, some more stuff's been delivered this morning, so I'll be able to crack on today. These are some of the tools that I've used. Obviously a large trowel just to help me kind of move the material around, particularly where there's like little hollow spots. You can kind of scoop stuff up and fill in those hollows. Once the top of the slab goes off a little bit after a couple of hours, you get like this kind of almost like a slurry, a cheesecake type consistency surface, and then you can use something like this. I mocked up this bit of timber here, just beveled on each side, flat, and a kind of handle, and just pushed it across the floor slab and backwards, just to get the levels right and to bring up the kind of surface a bit cleaner. And then after it had dried a little bit more, I just worked it up with this hand float here. It's just a very lightweight polypropylene item, but it was just used to get the top smoothed off. So what I'm going to do now, I've had some more material delivered. I'm going to crack on and see if I can get the rest of this base in, using a mix of about 4 to 1, 4 parts all in, I think they call it around here, like a concrete mix, sharp sand and gravel, and 1 part cement. So that's the job for now. So as you can see, I've just made a few mixes, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a little bit at a time. So I'm just going to level this bit out. So, I think you get the general idea. Working on your own it's a bit more difficult. Ideally you need one person at one end, other at the other end, and then work it across. But I get there in the end. I'm just going to backfill a little bit into one or two hollows here and just work with the bit of concrete that I've got at the moment, and then mix some more until I get to the end. Anyway, it's starting to rain. I think I'm going to get the camera indoors. So I eventually made enough mix to get to the far end. And you can see here I'm using a long length of timber just to try and get the top surface of the concrete as smooth as possible. I'm working on my own here, so it's not as easy as it would be if there's two of you, but I managed okay. So having got the concrete consolidated and reasonably level and got rid of any excess concrete from the floor slab, I then use this contraption here, like a float, a big float, to try and get the top of the surface as smooth as possible. And you do this maybe about 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour, depends really. You've still got to have the concrete reasonably wet on the top, and you can then begin to finesse the surface a little bit. So it's a combination of using this and the plastic float to finally get the concrete into a decent finished shape really. So that's what I'm doing here, just using the float now to get everything as smooth as I possibly can, because once it goes off, that's the finished surface. At some stage I'll decide whether or not to put tiles or just paint this floor, but at the moment I'm just concentrating on making sure I get as nice a surface as I possibly can. So I think the floor slab turned out pretty well in the end. If you found this of interest, please give it a like and possibly subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. And look out for further videos in the building of my garden room. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.